Brigadier Greville Bibby, CBE, is alongside me, waiting for the card here, and I know you're anticipating this hugely, Greville. It's a really exciting and I get impressive sight.
It is, and I was just thinking, there's the Garrison Sergeant Major you just mentioned, Vern Stokes. I was speaking to him yesterday, just confirming how on earth they get everybody to step off at the same time. And as you say, Claire, there's a pre-recorded message that is in the ear of every bass drummer of every band on parade.
There is the command. Now, it will take a few seconds for that to filter down. And the procession will all move off together.
That is remarkable. So the whole parade starts together, and you notice that he paused as it was being counted down in his ear. The same countdown for, as I say, all the bass drummers. That's a remarkable feat.
And so begins the coronation procession, the route back from Westminster Abbey to Buckingham Palace. And this is where the fun begins, because the service, quite rightly, is solemn. It is serious. It was, I think, extremely emotional for those taking part, and I think for most people watching. But this is almost a relief. Everything so far has gone absolutely like clockwork. And that golden coach, although it has poor suspension and may not be the most comfortable ride, it looks immaculate. It is glistening, it is gleaming. And it's made of gilt wood. That's a thin layer of gold leaf over wood. The interior is satin and velvet, and you see on the outside the panels are painted with Roman gods and goddesses.
It also ensures that the King and Queen are the driest people on the parade.
That is true. Here we see the Commonwealth troops and the flags being carried on the outside as well. And there are 8 groups in total in this coronation procession.
You know, I wonder if any of our military, it looks like some of our military actually joined.
And here we have the first of the carriages following the Gold State coach, and you can see the Prince and Princess of Wales and their 3 children. Prince George, who played such a good role there as Page of Honour, and Princess Charlotte, who's just celebrated her 8th birthday, and Prince Louis as well, who was 5 last month. Very exciting for them. And the King and Queen, the King wearing his imperial state crown and carrying the sceptre with its cross and the orb, and wearing...
Yeah, I wonder, like I said, I wonder if some of our military ever is taking part in this.
And the Queen with her newly made robe of estates. And the Queen Mary crown. The Gold State coach is drawn by 8 Windsor Greys.
Okay. Sadly, America isn't in the Commonwealth, but New Zealand have a similar uniform to the US. Okay. So that's probably why I'm mixing them up.
And there we can see Prince Louis. He's got a good view. He's got the outside seat. And Princess Charlotte waving enthusiastically. She's wearing a very beautiful Bruce Oldfield dress, and it's very similar in design, almost matching the one that her mother is wearing. And right at the front of the procession, you can see it's halfway down the Mall already. Apollo and Atlas. You see the drum horses at the front there, Apollo being ridden by Corporal of the Horse Richard Brown, and Atlas ridden by Lance Corporal of the Horse James Ballantyne.
It honestly really is. It really is, honestly, and a first in history for all of us, you know. So it's just amazing to see this.
Now, very quick change and leg up for Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal, because you saw her leaving Westminster Abbey to a side door, and in a matter of minutes She is now mounted, and she is not far behind her brother, the King. And she is Gold Stick in waiting and Colonel of the Blues and Royals. And I think fair to say the best rider on parade. She's a former Olympian, a European Open champion as well. So she knows what she's doing. And she is riding a horse called Falkland. There she is. And looking extremely comfortable en route. I think the rain has eased up, you know, just in time.
She's riding with the other colonels of the regiments of the Foot Guards. Next to her, Lieutenant General Sir James Bucknell. Coldstream Guards.
And guarantee you that glass in those carriages have been updated to like
and you can really see those
bulletproof.
Arms marching in time. And now you can feel the energy coming back to the crowds. They've been watching the service on the big screen, but this is what they've been waiting for. This is why they slept overnight, to get a position so that as the procession came by, they would feel it as well as see it and catch a sight maybe of those young princes waving at them. And just to correct myself, actually, Princess Charlotte and the Princess of Wales wearing outfits designed by Alexander McQueen. The Blues and Royals with their red plumes and blue tunics, and behind the state coach, the lifeguards with their white.
Yeah, but like I said, you know, the glass. You know, I can honestly believe that the only thing that has been updated on the carriages or upgraded has been the glass. You know, that's like the only thing that I can see that's been upgraded. You know, but yeah, like that's the oldest carriage right there.
On the ceremonial parade, you'll find the Sovereign's escort
dating back over 200 years,
protecting him.
And the Gold State coach also flanked by watermen, yeomen, palace footmen, grooms.
Yeah, you know, that's like the only thing besides, you know, maintaining the carriages. The only thing I can see is just the glass being upgraded to bulletproof. You know, especially with, you know, how the world sits right now.
Have recently enjoyed a visit to Wales. They stayed in a B&B and they...
But if you want my honesty, though, seriously, who's going to fucking try anything?
The sort of work they do.
I mean, I know that there's those crazies out there, but I mean, come on, seriously, like...
in front of the statue of Charles I, in front of Trafalgar Square and through Admiralty Arch.
They're commanded by Captain Sophie Shaughnessy there. She's a marine engineer, served with great distinction in the Royal Navy, Bosnia and the Gulf, amongst other places. And this is her last duty in uniform, commanding the Royal Navy at the coronation.
And they're the band of the Royal Marines with their white pith helmets.
Yeah, like these gentlemen right down here, right at the front. These two gentlemen right at the front right there. That looks like U.S. Marines and U.S. Navy.
There have been various colors used.
That's why I was saying, I wonder if our military is actually taking part.
And the King.
Those two men right up in the front that are walking next to the gold carriage. Yeah, like I thought that was U.S. Marine and U.S. Navy. Not gonna lie.
The cenotaph coming up towards the memorial for the women of World War II. Back on the Mall, we can see the full glory of this enormous procession. As we've said, the largest for 70 years, Greville.
It is, and as you said earlier, it's divided into eight distinct groups. Got the Brigade Major leading from the front, and then you've got the Royal Air Force, closely followed by all the regiments from the Royal Armoured Corps in the Army. And then the senior army corps and the infantry following them. Behind them are the junior army corps, and hopefully we'll see all these different regiments and units more closely in a minute. And then, as we've seen, the Royal Navy and the Royal Marines bringing up the rear. And of course, that's a great honour for them. As the senior service, they are closest to the monarch. Behind them, the Foot Guards and Household Cavalry dismounted.
So the Gold State coach making good progress down Whitehall. Will of course the national anthem.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
All 5 regiments of the Foot Guards now making that turn, and they will have to
God, I'm needing another pack of cigarettes
through those 3 arches. So quite a feat, Greville, of organisation.
It really
is. And it's going to get even more challenging when they come to the gates of the forecourt of Buckingham Palace. And we see there behind the Foot Guards, we have a number of different organisations: the Yeoman Orders, the Royal Watermen, as you mentioned before, the King's Bodyguard, the Yeomen of the Guard, the Royal Company of Archers, and the Honourable Company of Gentlemen at Arms. All 5 regiments of Foot Guards with their King's colour ahead of them, and their regimental lieutenant colonels and commanding officers on parade. And there you see the dismounted regiments of the Household Cavalry, the Blues and Royals, and the Life Guards.
Commonwealth troops in the overseas territories. And it's wonderful to know that.
Yeah, I can see Army, I can see Navy, I can see Air Force, I can see Marines.
447 representatives. Of
What's up, Trained? What you doing?
And of course, the King is head of the Commonwealth. And very interested to learn that he has managed to visit 45 of the 56 Commonwealth countries, which is quite a feat.
I think his first visit was at the age of 5. I think he went to Malta, first of all. So only a year after he attended the Queen's coronation, he was on his first official trip to a Commonwealth country. You see that grandstand behind. They've got a lovely view now. We're back with the Prince and Princess of Wales. And the children all at the same school now, at Lambrook School in Windsor. And Princess Charlotte, I know, is massively into her gymnastics. And the 2 princes enjoy their sport as well. And I think their parents are keen to ensure they have an outdoor lifestyle as much as possible.
Contemplating on if I want to do anything after this, because I've been up all night.
And there we find their Royal Highnesses, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, with their children, Lady Louise Mountbatten Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex. And Louise is 19 now. She's studying English at St Andrews University. And she'll be particularly appreciative of the driving of the carriages. Carriage driving, a great love of hers. And in the final carriage, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester.
Yeah, I've been going through a lot.
Sir Timothy Lawrence.
So yeah, I'm needing all the sleep I can get.
And the King and Queen Camilla have a chance now to really enjoy the crowds who have gathered and acknowledge them as much as possible. And having got through... the Canadian Mounted Police. Now, the Mounties have a wonderful relationship with the Crown. They have, over the years, gifted many horses to the late Queen, and indeed are giving a horse to the King that he will ride for the King's birthday parade, as it will be, Trooping the Colour, in future years. So the Mounties have a very prime position.
They have, I mean...
And actually, I think all of those horses here have been gifted to the royal family. So they are being ridden here, but they actually now belong to the royal family.
And I was going to say, what an extraordinary thing for them to be able to do, to come over from Canada and ride at the head of the Royal.
What's up, Chronic? What you doing?
The Royal Air Force have reached the Queen Victoria Memorial, and I mentioned this earlier, all of the marching elements to this will make their way into the gardens of Buckingham Palace, and they will form up there to salute the King. Because they're ahead of the Gold State coach, they haven't had the chance to see him since he's been crowned, but they will in the gardens.
Yes. Mass bands of the Household Division.
You were making a point earlier, Greville, about the importance of music to
the Royal Air Force.
Both
there
the
you
infantry
go,
and
dude.
indeed
There you
cavalry.
go.
But that beat, the importance
Keeping my fingers
of
crossed. Hope you get in.
On a beat.
It is, but also the idea that the music is a morale booster. It makes everyone, lifts everybody. So if you're going into battle, to have music in front of you is reassuring. And of course, when the enemy hear that loud beat coming towards them, it also
there you go. There you go.
Fear into them. So
yeah, I hope you get it, Retro.
It plays
honestly
many
hope
different
you do.
parts, quite the ceremonial side.
Back with the Prince and Princess of Wales and Princess Charlotte and Prince George and Prince Louis. And I think still enjoying their ride.
I was going to say earlier, Claire, I was trying to interrupt you. I think they might compete for best show and tell at school, don't you?
Oh, I think they will. I have to say that if we were awarding, medals, obviously medals to all the pages.
6 to 9 month process from selection before going to training.
I think the medals are important. Lord President of the Privy Council, that was a heroic effort.
Heroic is the word. I was talking about the ensigns who carry all the colours, the flags out on parade, and they'll be extremely heavy with the rain, but she was holding that ceremonial sword. You have the Gurkhas.
Much loved Gurkhas from Nepal. And you see there the flags of the Commonwealth nations. St Kitts and Nevis, I think that was on the left there. And the Princess of Wales looking absolutely beautiful. Prince of Wales is wearing underneath those robes the uniform of the Welsh Guards. He is now their colonel.
He's their colonel. And of course the Princess of Wales is the colonel of the Irish Guards.
And both of them wearing formal robes and mantles.
Here we have the infantry, the iconic red berries of the paras in the middle.
Connected to the King.
Connected to the King, indeed. The King was the first heir to the throne to get his parachute wings, jumping out of an aeroplane. I think he did it in total 7 times. He thought, well, if I'm going to be their colonel, I need to be able to jump out of aeroplanes. Age 23, he did that.
The Army Air Corps here. And back with the Gold State coach. And honestly, I think it is brightening all the time. And certainly that gold looks to be gleaming ever more.
Got representatives of the realms and dependent territories of Great Britain, either side. It's a great honour for them.
I was listening to Sir David Attenborough yesterday evening talking about the importance of the Queen's coronation 70 years ago in terms of the history of television. And you look at all of the personal filming that's going on and think what this represents in terms of footage taken, individual footage taken. It must be covered by more cameras, if you see what I mean, official cameras and personal cameras, than any event ever. So that grandstand on the left is where we have members of the NHS, care workers as well, veterans, and those representing various charities. Oh, good move there from the Royal Navy.
Well, this is the manoeuvre
that was actually amazing to see.
Talking about earlier, you can see the gate top right where they're all going through, and this is a new military manoeuvre which has been designed specifically for this parade to reduce the frontage of 12 into a frontage of 6.
So it's sort of halving itself in width, is that what you mean?
And I have to say, the Navy have just executed that absolutely superbly.
Oh yeah, oh hell yeah.
See the streetliners there, still standing there. They've been there since 9 o'clock this morning as the Coldstream Guardsmen saluting the royal family.
And I wanted to ask you about the 5-pace gap of the streetliners. How is that measured?
Well, you might be familiar with some senior non-commissioned officers. In fact, you see the Garrison Sergeant Major in the background there, right in the sort of left middle of the screen, carrying a stick, and that is called a pace stick. And it is, when it's opened, it replicates a 30-inch pace, and they use the pace stick to get the 5 paces that they need between each streetliner. There is a pace-sticking World Championships, Claire. Did you know that?
I did not.
No. Held at Sandhurst every year.
Prince Louis is enjoying this, I think. He's only a year older than the King was when he attended the Queen's coronation. But all of them will remember this. They're old enough to remember it, and everybody here today. There's a day they will never forget. See the lifeguards there in the Blues and Royals, either side of the Gold State coach. And the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, the Duke and patron of many charities, including the National Youth Theatre, the British Paralympic Association, the Sport and Recreation Alliance as well. You can see the movement of the Gold State coach, and the reason why they didn't want to have it on the way to Westminster Abbey, I think it would make me feel quite seasick. And it has been, compared to those who have, compared by those who have ridden in it. It's like riding on rough seas. Just to say, on iPlayer, you can, if you wish, select uninterrupted commentary free coverage, or if you require more detail on Red Button, we have accessible commentary, also a signed version on BBC Two, and of course highlights on full coverage on iPlayer available immediately, and highlights tonight. You see there the very back of the procession. The front of it already has reached the gardens of Buckingham Palace, and the back of it now into its last section down the Mall, and colours being lowered as the
state coach goes by. Yes, the soldiers will use their rifles to salute, and then the young officers carrying the colours will lower the colours. I was talking about how tricky that becomes when they are wet. I mean, it's difficult enough normally, but when they're wet, they'll be 3 times the weight.
King Charles III is the Commander-in-Chief of the UK Armed Forces, and that's a role he inherited on the death of Queen Elizabeth in September last year. and he holds the highest rank in all 3 services, so Field Marshal, Admiral of the Fleet, and Marshal of the Royal Air Force.
Yes, and of course, Captain General of the Royal Marines. You can see bottom left there is colour down, saluting as the King goes by. Talking of colours and flags, I think some of the horsemen have been heroic today. I'm sure the viewers have spotted a number of horses who've clearly been spooked by waving flags and cheering crowds. Which obviously is a hazard of ceremonial duty, but it's amazing the way they manage to control their horses in such circumstances. Particularly the musicians, as you said earlier, who don't necessarily have hands on the reins.
Talking of horsemanship, you see that Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal there, back right of the Gold State coach, so relaxed in the saddle. And yes. It's not easy, right? The point is, A, it's not easy riding, but B, riding in uniform, riding in boots that have no give, that are stiff, that makes it a little bit harder.
Well, they've also got spurs on as well, Claire, which are really quite sharp. And should they inadvertently allow a spur to wander into the side of the horse,
it will take off.
Not ideal.
That the Prince and Princess of Wales have been on a trip to Wales. They very much want to reinforce that link with Wales as a country, with Welsh-produced goods, and I think form an even deeper bond.
There's the Guard of Honour again, Claire. You can see the standard of the Coldstream Guards. Only ever carried in the presence of the monarch. One of 2 colours.
Yes, Louis. he's done so well.
See the Sovereign's escort now pulled off to the left. I don't think they'll be going into the gardens, Claire. I'm sure the gardeners of Buckingham Palace would be very happy if those horses appeared on their lawn.
No, they will be taken back to the Mews. And as the Gold State coach disappears, we have one last look at Prince Louis there, and the Prince and Princess of Wales, and Prince George and Princess Charlotte. We will next see all of those who were involved marching on procession. We'll see them formed up in the gardens behind the palace, and their chance to personally salute the King and Queen. And that was impressive in scale and execution and accuracy and uplifting.
So uplifting and so unique to get representatives from across all the armed forces on parade at the same time together to celebrate the new monarch.
And full credit to those who have planned it and to the work that's gone in rehearsing some of those rehearsals through the middle of the night.
Well, indeed, and you know, we expect our ceremonial troops and others to do a good job. That's what we've come to expect. But actually, so many of the personnel on parade today, it's not what they do every day. They've come off their ships, they've come from their air bases and their regimental barracks all over the country and indeed the world to perform today. And we can see the colours of all those regiments represented, colours and standards there around the Queen Victoria Memorial.
A wonderful, glorious sight. Hugely enjoyed, I think, by those present here, but also by those watching. And one last duty.
Oh yeah, it was definitely enjoyed here. I enjoyed watching this. What do you guys think, Chad?
Well, Claire, thank you. Well, to share their thoughts on this extraordinary day, our historian and broadcaster, David Olusoga, and Daily Mail writer, Robert Hartman. I think little Prince Louis is the only one who needs a little bit of CBeebies. The rest of us couldn't get enough of that. What a spectacle.